All right, folks, welcome to Nap Chatter, episode 5. And this episode will be called Touchdowns to Teaching. We are joined by a guest today, a friend from high school, now a colleague of mine, Mr. Vince Cook. Welcome to the show, buddy.
How you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks
Uh,
for having me.
of course, of course. I got to tell you, when I started up this podcast, you were one of the first guys that popped into my head, just because I feel like we got some similarities. Obviously, we both work at the school now.
Hmm.
Um, both coach high school sports, and both big film lovers. Me,
Oh yeah.
not as much as you. But yeah, you a very interesting man, and I thought you'd be great to have
Well,
on. So
thanks.
I'm very happy that you joined. Vince teaches at the high school, coaches football for Grand Ledge, um, runs his own little film club, and is it? I don't want to misspeak. Is it a blog, or what is your reviews thing that you do?
So the review situation for me is just more of a kind of hobby and my free time. I have what's called a Letterboxd account. So there's this social media app called Letterboxd that's kind of like a social media networking app for reviewing and logging and making watch lists of films. So I have an account on there and I make reviews on there and I push them onto Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, I my last year of college, I did try to dabble in doing YouTube video reviews. I did that for like 2 years, and it's too time consuming. I didn't have the money to spend at the time to buy a nice setup
Yeah.
and like get lighting. I don't know if you follow any YouTubers who review films. There's a film community on YouTube and guys and gals who review films. So
Okay.
I got into a bunch of them watching some of their videos. There's still a few of them I watch pretty religiously, and I tried to do my own thing, and it was just too hard. So
Yeah.
I started just doing the written thing on social media, and it's just for fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's cool, but needless to say, you are a very busy man. So I do appreciate you coming on. A couple things on my end. New music I heard this week that I liked. Cameron Marlowe, country singer, song called "Giving You Up." Take a listen to that. And some TV update. I will give an update on WandaVision. Episode 4, I finally started to enjoy. And
So I was wondering if you would bring that up because I watched your last 4 episodes of your
yeah,
podcast. Right, you did
yep,
4 before this one,
yep,
and I know you had mentioned WandaVision and you brought it up on Facebook too. So I was like, I'll go ahead and watch it because I have Disney Plus. So I was like, I'll watch the 4 episodes before we chat. And I'm curious to hear what you think now because I know you weren't very favorable of the first
I,
3 episodes, or was it the first 2 you
the
weren't favorable?
first two I wasn't liking it much, and then the third one towards the end I was like, okay, I see where we're going. And then this fourth one, I'll say it's getting good. I expect the next 5 episodes to be really good, and it to be what I was kind of expecting. And I understand why they did the first 3 episodes now. They explained it, and I got it. So yeah, I'm back on. So if you already gave up, stick with it, or maybe go back and watch it again. So what'd you think?
So I'm kind of the opposite.
Really?
I was disappointed that they revealed their hand so early.
Well, there's only
I
nine
really,
episodes though.
I know, but there's 5 more episodes. Why could I thought I wasn't like I'm not gonna sit here and say this is my favorite thing Marvel has ever done,
No, no, no.
but I thought it was kind of fascinating that they took a completely different approach
Yeah.
to their storytelling in those first 2 to 3 episodes, and it was much slower. It was very weird, super bizarre and ambiguous, and I thought they were going to drag that out a bit more. I
Yeah.
was a little disappointed they just basically exposition dumped and explained everything in episode 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue watching it, but I mean, I thought it would have been nice, maybe nuggets, like little pieces to kind of
Yeah.
here and there, but they literally like the entire episode 4 explained everything.
Yeah. They
I
they
was like,
threw it out to
oh
you.
man, I was like, you couldn't. I wanted them to drag it out more.
Yeah.
I was kind of. I mean, they might still do this, but I was because they went. They did 50s, 60s, and 70s sitcom
Yeah, I
homages.
thought they were
One,
gonna
two, three. I thought it would have been cool to see them keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Go 80s,
Yeah.
90s, 2000 sitcoms,
Yeah.
and then maybe from there, I don't know, but maybe they'll
Yeah.
still do that. But now they've kind of revealed their hand.
Yeah, they could still, just because, some things are still up in the air there. But yeah,
Yeah,
they
there is.
they they did kind of throw it in there. And then the other one I watched on Netflix, Fate of the Winx saga, which I guess is based off a cartoon. I hadn't seen the cartoon before, an older cartoon, but really good. I was like, Sunday night I had some time. I was like, I'll watch an episode or two, and I ended up watching all six of them, and really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show, and I'm already looking forward to the second season of that. So if you got some time, 6 episodes, about 45, 50 minutes, give it a check.
Fate of the Wink.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of that one. Fate
yeah,
of the Wink. Okay,
it was Fate of the Winx saga. It's
I'll
pretty
check it out.
good. It's Winx, but it's pronounced Winx, I believe. So
Oh, WIN. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah. It's pretty good. It's like a fairies, but almost in like I never really watched much Harry Potter's. I know I'm bad, but it's almost like their own school, like a Hogwarts kind of deal, where that's
Okay.
just people with fairies, and then specialists who are just people that fight, and then they have
Is it more aimed towards kids or families, or is it got kind of an adult?
no. I would definitely say it's more of an adult. I mean,
Okay.
there's some bad language, and then they like smoking and drinking as
Oh,
far
okay.
as
So
that.
it's got some adult themes then.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, but I enjoyed it. And then just announced yesterday, it could be a while, but the NCAA football game is going to be
I
coming
saw
back.
that. I
Yeah,
saw that.
so I'm excited, and not be it's a game that I absolutely love, and so many of my friends do as well. But I'm worried that they're going to turn it into something like Madden, and I don't enjoy the Maddens anymore. So
I haven't played. I think I have a copy of Madden, but I haven't played. Man,
no,
I had Madden '04 on PS2. I was a big
I,
big fan of that one. I
I
think the
swear
last
they used to make them better. I swear,
well, I really like the NCAA football. I like the dynasty mode. I think the
absolutely.
last one I bought was in college. I had like 2012 or 2013. I
Yeah.
never bought 14, the one with I think Denard Robinson was on the cover of
Yep.
the last one.
Yep. That's the one
I
I
never
got.
bought that one. I think I bought one or two before because I wasn't one of those people. It always drove me nuts that every year one came out,
You got to buy
people
the
would
new one.
buy the
Yeah.
like.
No,
I
I didn't
thought
have
that
the
was
money
stupid.
for that
I didn't
myself.
either. Absolutely not. I'd
So
buy one and then maybe 4 or 5 years later, maybe get another one.
you're like, I'd buy one, and then I'd play the other one, the new ones at my friend's, right?
Oh,
You got the friend that buys them.
yeah.
Shout
There's
out,
always someone.
shout out Sam Butterwick.
you know, Jimmy Cotter used to always do that
There
too.
you go.
Always bought a new one.
Usually we talk a ton of sports. We're gonna do a tiny bit of sports, and then kind of dive more into to Vince and his passions, and see what we're rolling. But we will start with very brief NFL. Matt Stafford traded to the Rams, leaving the Lions after a nice career for him. Statistically, I won't say successful on the football field. I think 0 and
Takes
3.
team to win though.
Yeah, absolutely. 0-3 in the playoffs. But statistically, a very good career in Detroit, and I'm so happy for him. I'm not a Lions fan, but I am very happy for him, and I really think I know it's very early, but I think the Rams will be the NFC favorite next year. I think all they were missing was a quarterback. I mean, they've got young running backs, good receivers,
Hmm.
a great defense, and an awesome coach. And man, Stafford
He's a winner.
he's underrated too. I mean, people don't, nationally he doesn't get seen because the Lions aren't on, they're just on local TV, and they always
Hmm.
aren't. There are no primetime games really for the Lions. So
But even some of their like best seasons, or even when they're having their worst seasons, like I just said, he's a winner, and he's never won any playoff games, but he has like one of the greatest stats of all time, especially at his age, where he's got tons of time left in terms of leading comeback wins and overtime
yeah,
wins.
absolutely.
Um,
Fourth quarter
it's unbelievable.
drives, like
And he only is ever in that situation because everyone around him in that franchise and on that team is subpar or
yeah,
sometimes even terrible.
yeah.
And then people make the argument, well, yeah, Calvin Johnson, this. Yeah, do you ever watch any of the game footage when
We
teams would
triple team.
double and
Yeah,
triple team him, and then he's got to find other receivers? I mean,
yeah.
they never had a run game. They
No.
finally, just in the last couple of years, have started to break away from the bottom of the league in rushing. Their run game is all before the last couple of years, and because what on Johnson, I think was he the one who finally broke the 100
The
yard
100
rushing streak?
yard.
That was like how many
uh,
years without a 100 yard
well,
rusher, and
yeah, that was a while. That
it
was
was
a
a long
while.
time.
I
Yeah,
think he's gonna flourish, and I think he's gonna be like, wow.
absolutely.
He's gonna be like, wow, this is how an organization
Yeah,
runs.
I wish him all the best too. I think he's a great individual.
Yeah,
I've always had a
and
good
you never
opinion of him.
hear bad things about him. He's never in the media complaining because his team stinks. You know what I
Yep,
mean? He's just a high character, good player, and I think he's
absolutely.
gonna flourish.
I
But
hope so.
the Lions on the flip side, a lot of people are saying that the Lions just completely robbed the Rams. I don't
It's a
necessarily.
pretty crazy deal.
I don't necessarily think they robbed them though, because if you're the Rams and you feel like this is what you need to win a championship is priceless. I'm not saying they're gonna win it, but if that's what they think they need to win a championship, it does no cost to me.
Yeah,
But yes, they got the first rounders and a couple other ones.
three was it two or three? I can't remember if it was two or three. Either way, it was kind of crazy.
Three. It's
Was
three.
it three? Was it three?
And then they got Goff, which to me they didn't really, the way I heard it was they didn't get Goff. They had to take Goff. It wasn't. I mean, like,
Well, he had I was reading his contract is ridiculous.
yeah,
Like it's really high contract. So
and
I think they were just like, let's get rid of this contract so the Lions can take it over.
and I
But
think they got
but on the flip side, the Lions got a young new quarterback. They can let him play around a little bit while they take these draft picks, let things kind of, build up with some new coaches and new staff they've hired. And then if Goff doesn't, come to fruition, draft a number one pick or a
Yeah.
first round pick.
Right.
They've always first round draft picks. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's just the Lions got to hit on their drafts, which we obviously
Yep.
know, is tough. They like
Another tight end. The
tight
damn
end
ends.
receiver. They
Oh
like to
my
draft.
gosh, they're
And
tight ends.
and if the Rams are right, they're going to end up those picks are going to end up being 30, 31, you know what I mean? If they're having good
Mhm.
seasons, which I would expect them to do.
Yep.
Yes, I think it was a good trade. I don't necessarily think I think that's the most they were going to get, but I
Mhm.
think because they had to take Goff, not get Goff, they had to take Goff. There's no way
Yeah.
that the trade wasn't happening without Goff and that giant contract. I think that's why they were able to get an extra pick. They're like, all right,
Yeah.
we'll take Goff, but let's get an extra first round pick. So
Yeah, because they're taking over that contract.
yeah.
I don't know what's the deal with them trading Stafford in terms of financially, contractually? Was his contract up?
No, he still has, I think, 2 or 3 years left.
But it's probably
but
much more affordable.
I
in
want to
terms
say
of
like
cap space. For
yeah,
the
I want to
Rams.
say like 10 mil or something like that. I mean,
Okay.
Goff is getting paid a lot of dough, and
Well, and if in Goff's how many years he had probably had more years left on his, right? Than
yeah, because
Stafford's.
Goff just resigned.
The
Like,
overall is probably worth more,
Yeah.
or it's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
more expensive.
oh
than
yeah,
him.
so but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what takes place. Obviously, a long way away from next year.
Yeah.
But we got one game left on Sunday. It is the Super Bowl. You
Mhm.
said you watched last one, so you saw me. I took the Chiefs. Mizak came on and said he was going to take Tampa plus the 3.5. What do you think happens this weekend?
See, it's tough because Brady is a winner, man. I know he doesn't. Everyone always argues he doesn't necessarily have the numbers to back it up, but I don't know.
Myself
That guy
included.
he does find a way to win.
He does.
I'm a Michigan State fan. So a lot of people love him because they're Michigan fans. I still got to, even though I'm not a Michigan fan, I got to respect
Oh
the
yeah,
guy for
you
what he's
got to.
done.
Got to.
I just think the Chiefs are so good, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Mahomes is the pick for me. I think Reed and Mahomes and the Chiefs are gonna take home back-to-back Super Bowls. That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking here.
I agree with you. I did see, and I don't know what is going to come of this. I got a message just about an hour or so ago that the Chiefs barber tested positive for COVID, and he had a line of 20 players, including Patrick Mahomes.
What? I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
That's brand new news, breaking news.
Breaking news
Oh
here.
man.
I did see that, so I hope nothing comes of it.
Dude,
You
if
know,
they lose a bunch of starters, then I
well
don't know
then,
what's gonna happen
yeah,
there.
then obviously, I mean, anything is possible. We could have a Michigan quarterback Super Bowl here. But yeah, I hope not. You don't want to see that in the Super Bowl.
No, that'd be so. That would be disappointing.
I don't even think the Bucks would want that,
No,
because
I would as a Bucks player. I mean, you want to win a Super Bowl, but to win that way would be pretty like.
yeah, but
I mean, I
so
remember with the college national championship, Ohio State had some guys down,
yeah,
but not to that degree. What you just said.
no, no. So I hope nothing comes of it, but I would definitely stay out on the lookout for that as we
Yeah,
are here. This is
it'll
Wednesday
be
night
interesting. That'll
and the
be interesting.
game is Sunday. So
Hmm.
so that is all the professional sports we're going to talk. We're going to talk a little college football. And that is because Vince played some college ball. Went to Hillsdale College, Division II football. There you go, repping that. Love it, love it.
Go Chargers, baby.
There you go. How was Division II football? You went to play linebacker, correct?
Yeah, my first 3 years, I was a linebacker. I tore my ACL meniscus game 8 on kick return against Saginaw Valley my third year.
Oh,
So I got kicked. I was the peel back guy in the second row on kick return. So you have to run backwards at an angle to pick and then flip around, pick up your guy. You're like the back end of the wall.
yeah, yeah.
And as I flipped around, someone from Saginaw Valley coming down trying to loop around me kicked me like with their leg,
Oh,
uh, and I
yeah.
tore my ACL. Bucket flipped my meniscus, which means it like flipped in half and had a minor tear. Dr. Dodds from
Oh,
Grand
yeah.
Ledge. Shout out
Yes.
Dr. Dodds. Did my surgery. Still holding up. More than 7 years later. So then I got switched in spring ball. So that was fall of 2013. Spring ball, I got switched to H backs and tight ends. And my last 2 seasons, I played H back. So my very last season, do you remember Joe Reverman? Joey
Yes,
Rev?
JoJo.
So he was my last season. He was a redshirt freshman. So my 2014 season, I didn't play. I came back from knee surgery. My knee was no good, so I didn't play my fourth year there. And Joe was a true freshman, got redshirted. So my last year, I did play quite a bit at blocking fullback, H back position. And I got to block for Joe, his
Awesome.
GLIAC Freshman of the Year campaign
That kid could
in
run, man.
2015. Yeah, yeah, he was another one who got bit by the injury bug. He had a breakout year in fall of 2015. He started only the last 5 games of the year. 4 or 5 running because he's a redshirt freshman. We had a bunch of juniors and seniors ahead of him.
Right.
4 or 5 running backs ahead of him all had season-ending injuries or significant injuries. So
Wow.
by game 6 or 7, he was the starter. He got sparing minutes early in the season, but he started the last 5 games. He ended up rushing for over 1,000 yards, and yeah,
Wow.
and was named the GLIAC Freshman of the Year and was second team All GLIAC as a redshirt
Wow.
freshman. Yeah,
That's
he
awesome.
was second in school history for rushing yards in a game. He had 276 rushing yards in one game,
Holy cow.
500 in 2 total games. So half of his yards came in 2 games. It was nuts.
That is insane. Yeah,
So it was fun being a part of that.
I bet, especially with that, Grand Ledge connection there. I remember
Oh
going
yeah.
going and watching him, after we graduated, and uh that kid could play, man.
Oh
That's
yeah. He's a
that's
great dude.
cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I enjoyed my time there, man. I when Caroline and I got married in 2017, three of my groomsmen. We had a big bridal party. 3 of my groomsmen and one of my ushers were some of my best friends, teammates from Hillsdale, and then there
That's
was
awesome.
I had another handful of guys that were attended the wedding that I
Yeah.
invited. So
Yeah,
still good friends and good memories, and I got 2 rings. We won the conference championship, GLIAC championship outright my freshman year there, and we're divisional championships my second year there.
sweet.
Talent pool kind of went downhill after that. We had a bunch of guys who had NFL training camp. They got invited to training camps and um, went to combines and things like that. We had scouts at every practice my first 3 years there, and
Really?
then yeah, we had some studs, man. And then after that, we kind of didn't have as much talent the last couple years, so we weren't as good my last couple years there, unfortunately. Yeah, Jared Valdir, who was
Yeah. In the
20.
NFL.
Yeah, he was a 2010 grad. So 2009 was his last season at Hillsdale. So I never overlapped with him. But he was, when I did my visit, my official on campus visit, he was off season from his rookie year and was part of the players panel. And he was huge. And he was tan, super, because he was playing with the Oakland. He got drafted by the Raiders, so we had this huge tan, 6 foot. I mean, I think he's 6'5" or 6'6", 300 and something pound lineman. I'm a 18-year-old senior in high school,
Yeah,
and then he came back. Some of the spring ball practices, he would come back. He had a good relationship with the coaching staff, so that was cool.
that's sweet. Yeah, he
Yeah,
told
he was
that's cool.
almost. He was almost going
Almost,
to be the first player in NFL
almost.
history to play on two different teams in the playoffs, and then he got COVID.
Yep, almost
Oh
coming,
man.
almost came to my Packers. We could have
Yeah.
used him. Good
Oh
lord.
yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome, man. What was your regiment like? Because I did a little wrestling in Division 3,
Hmm.
and for a brief time, and it just felt like a full-time job to me. I mean, you got
Absolutely.
morning workouts, class, then practice, and then study. We had
Yep.
mandatory study hall.
Yep.
Did it feel like that to you? Was
Oh
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the time of year, so like during the season, um, obviously we'd camp for like a month for the entire month of August, and then once the season started, it was pretty much our schedule was, game was Saturday, Sunday night we didn't have to report unless we had an injury. So we had injury check on Sunday night, which my last couple of years I was there every Sunday night because
Right.
I dealt with some injuries after my knee surgery. I had a couple other issues. Then we had Monday night practices in season, so we would come in and lift at like right after dinner. Guys would scarf dinner in the cafeteria at like 5 o'clock.
You got barely any time.
Oh, dude, everyone would eat light because it was literally you were going right from dinner to workouts. So you had a workout, and then we had team meeting, then we had special teams meeting, and then it was position group meeting, and then we had practice. So we got out at like 10 o'clock on Monday
Wow.
nights, and
Whew.
then Tuesday, Wednesday, and uh, Thursday. Tuesday and Wednesday was full pad practices. So we'd come in and we'd have a team meeting. We had film, special teams film, individual period film, and then practice. Practice was usually about 2 hours. That was Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday was shells, so we didn't have to wear full pads. It was shoulder pads and shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Thursday. Practice was a little bit lighter. Friday was literally a walkthrough for the travel squad. Non-travel squad guys had to lift, get in a third lift. Wednesday, oh, I forgot. Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. we had a lift. So we lifted Monday night, lifted Wednesday morning. Travel squad guys didn't have to lift. Most of them would try and get another lift on Fridays. But then we had a legit walkthrough, watch some film, team dinner, and then if it was a away game, we had to get on a bus. Depending on
Jeez.
where it was, man, we played at Michigan Tech twice when I was there. I made that bus ride. 14 hours on a bus to go play it.
Holy cow.
Because Hillsdale, if you don't know, is in south central Michigan. It's like 20 minutes from the Ohio border. And then Michigan Tech in Houghton
All the
is the
way.
very,
Oh my
very
God.
most northern point in the state of Michigan up in the UP. It was a 14-hour
14
bus ride.
hours.
Yeah,
Holy
we
cow.
actually for that trip would leave Friday morning. We did our walkthrough up there Friday night. I remember because I had to make that trip, I think, one time. Because we played them, we had home away.
Right, right.
And the one year, my freshman year when I was redshirted, we played them away, so I wasn't on the travel squad. It was I think it was the next year when I was playing, I had special teams and I traveled. I had to go up there. And then the year after that, we
Wow.
played them home again. But yeah, we would leave at the bus left like 6 a.m. sharp. We'd stop at the bridge for lunch because the bridge was probably about 5 hours from Hillsdale, 5 or 6 hours. And then, dude, from the bridge to Houghton, because you're on a big bus and if you've never been to UP, there's no freeway up there. It's
No.
from the bridge to Houghton is like another 5 or 6 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a hike, man.
That's crazy. That's
And we get back. The games, luckily, were always at noon. Obviously, they always played noon games because teams
yeah.
had to get back. So
Yeah.
we would get back at like 2 or 3 in the morning on Sunday. So that
Well,
was
I tell
fun.
you, you gotta love it, man. To to
Yeah.
to play, D2 and D3 sports, like you gotta
Oh
love.
yeah.
You really
It's a
gotta.
job, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
the
gotta
number
have
of
that.
hours. In the off season's not quite as quite as bad because it's just conditioning workouts, lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Spring ball, we had spring ball, that started after spring break, but that was only for like spring ball. I think was 6 or 8 weeks, something like that, and it wasn't nearly as much time as the fall in
Yeah.
season. But
Well, that's
it's a
cool,
lot of
man.
work, man. But it's fun. I love it. I commend anyone who plays any college sport at any level because it is a lot of. I mean, you gotta love it. I mean, you
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, let's transition a little. You are now a teacher at Grand Ledge High School, where we both graduated from. Um,
Class 2011, baby.
that's right. 10 years. Holy cow,
I
man.
know.
10
10
years,
years
man.
in June.
Crazy, crazy. When did you decide you wanted to be a teacher? When did that come about? Is that something maybe in high
Um.
school or?
So, yeah. I mean, I probably sometime in high school decided that I really loved English. I was always a reader. I really got into reading as a kid. Always grew up watching film, movies with family and friends. That was always a big part of my life, and so I always loved stories, analyzing and breaking down stories. So I took advanced English classes in high school, and I thought I would teach high school English and coach football. I was a big admirer of Coach Bird. Matt Bird was the high school football coach at Grand Ledge when we were there, and he was until a couple years ago. He just
Yeah.
moved on to a different school in 2019. And he was a big inspiration for me. I loved him and what he did, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to teach and I want to coach. I love football. I love English. I think I could do that. And then my path didn't happen exactly how I thought it would because Hillsdale, I ended up choosing. It was really one of my only Division II opportunities. I was heavily recruited by D3 schools, and I was very close to choosing Elmhurst in Chicago or Kalamazoo College
Mm-hmm.
to play football. But Hillsdale just kind of worked out, and it's not that I didn't want to play D3. I just the opportunity to play a little bit higher in the GLIAC. I was excited at that opportunity. Plus, Hillsdale has a great education. Great education. So does Kalamazoo, though. Kalamazoo has got a uh, great academics. But Hillsdale was cheaper. That was another thing. Hillsdale is a private school, and for those who don't know, they don't take any federal funding. None. They're like one of the only schools there's like a dozen or less schools in the whole country that doesn't take a penny from the
Wow.
government. So it's all through private funding. Their endowment is insane. Their annual endowment is hundreds of millions of dollars. It's huge because
Wow.
it's all private donations from alumni and supporters.
That's crazy.
So they offered me a pretty nice scholarship package, and their tuition was just more affordable because it's for private school. They're actually far cheaper than like Kalamazoo. Um, so I chose to go there, but they didn't have an education program. So
Yeah, I was wondering.
they cut their education program actually a few years before I got there. They used to have it, and they used to be partnered with Spring Arbor University to do teaching certification. So I didn't know what I was going to do at that point. I was like, you know what? I'll just major in. I double majored in English and Spanish. I ended up minoring in math as well because I had some credits from college class or high school classes taking calc in high school. So I didn't need much more to get a math minor. So I was like, I'll major in this stuff, and this is what I'll try to make myself marketable to teach. Well, I end up, I did study abroad in Spain my fifth year. I did for football. I did 5 years, so I was redshirted. So spring of my fifth year there, I went to Spain to complete my Spanish degree. And when I came back and graduated, I'm like, now what?
Wow. I
So
didn't know that. That's awesome.
I didn't know what to do. I got back from Spain and graduated in May of 2016. Moved back home in Grand Ledge with my mom, and I actually worked the same manual labor job from May through August in 2016 that I worked in college. Jimmy Edgett, actually, if he listens to this, he'll be upset. I call him Jimmy. He likes to go by Jim or James now. Sorry, Jimmy. Um, his dad, I worked for his dad's moving company, B&J Moving Storage, all through college. So I just went back to that job. It was cash under the table. Tough work, but I listened to one of your other episodes where you said you worked at American Rentals. I worked there for a year or two in college.
Oh,
I did manual labor stuff, man, because it was good money, and I was
yeah.
trying to. Also, I would do my lifting after those days, so I was like in really good
Whew.
shape.
I
Oh, it was
bet.
brutal. I would never do it again, but it was brutal. But I was always in good shape. I got back to camp, I was in good shape, and I made good money. So what ended up happening is kind of like just a gift from God. Like literally, August, I get a phone call and a text from different people. Matt Bird texted me in August and goes, "Hey, I heard you're back in town. You interested in coaching?" And asked me to come coach JV football. And then literally like within that same week, um, if you remember Brett Johnson, his dad
Yep.
Mike,
Yep.
Dr. Johnson at the time, he's not anymore, he's retired now, was the one of the assistant superintendents, and he was looking to fill uh, a long term sub spot for Candace Carr, who at the time was Miss Chauvin. I don't know if you remember Miss
I don't.
Chauvin, stats teacher. She was going on maternity leave, and they could not find anyone to fill the spot. No one wanted to teach stats.
Right.
Nobody.
Rightfully
Um,
so.
no, yeah. So, and I was just so desperate to stop doing manual labor.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe this would be a shoehorn in. I don't know. So he's like, "Do you want to get certified to substitute teach? I know you have a math minor, and you can come in and do this job." And I was like, "Yes, yes, please." I'm like, I'm done with manual labor. So they hired me the first week of school, fall of 2016, end of August, early September, whenever we started that year. And for 4 days, I think we start. For some reason, we started on like a Tuesday because
Right.
I think it was like Labor Day week, whatever it was. We didn't start on Monday, so it was like 4 days. I was doing stats, and Candace had me all set up in her classroom. Rolling. She was so well prepped. I didn't have to do much of anything. I just literally took what she gave me and did it. It was going really well. Friday morning, I'm teaching, and Dr. Johnson, Mike pulls me out of my room when I'm done with the class, and he goes, "Hey, you got a minute?" And I go, "Hey, what's up?" And he goes, "So I know you got kind of a nice thing going here, but I got a better opportunity." He goes, "How would you like a permanent sub job for the year?" Because that was only going to be for a month. She was supposed to be back. She had given birth in the summer, so her maternity leave was only going to extend to like a month into the year. So it was only going to be for like 4 weeks. He goes, "Do you want a permanent sub job for the school year? It pays double. It pays more because permanent subs get much more money than a day to day sub." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's Spanish." He goes, "I know you just got back from Spain this year, and your degree is in Spanish. And I know you have your minor in math, but you don't like it as much." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't want to teach stats. I was just looking for a way to manual labor, but yeah, I'd love to do Spanish." So and it was at Hayes. So an eighth grade Spanish teacher had left the year before, and they spent 4 months could not find anybody to replace her. It's that hard to find language teachers.
I
So
bet. I bet.
I went over there Monday. I had the weekend to prep. Went down over there Monday. The poor sob they had in there for a week was YouTubing Spanish stuff. I got in there, man, and that eighth grade classroom was just like a circus.
Oh,
If any of my students listen to this, the current seniors at Grand Ledge right now I had
wow.
some of those kids, guys and girls in eighth grade that year. A lot of great kids, a lot of them, and it was a learning experience, that's for sure. And then what ended up happening is Mike later in the year said, "Do you want this job?" He goes, "If you can find a way to get certified, you can have this job." And I found out about a program called an ARC program that's offered in the state of Michigan, which stands for Alternative Route to Certification. And it's only offered at so many schools in the state. University of Michigan's, uh, all their campuses offer it. The Dearborn one, they're one in Flint, and then in the Ann Arbor, obviously, and then Davenport, um, and then there might have been one other one on the west side, and then Schoolcraft. So Schoolcraft College is a community college in Livonia, right off 96 by Detroit, and I ended up getting signed up for their program. And while I was teaching, starting in January of 2017, twice a week I drove 2 hours round trip and spent 2 hours in class. I did that
Wow.
from January to August, and I got an initial 12 credits to get my interim certification, so that I can, in the state of Michigan, you can be legally hired to teach with that just 12 credits of education classes. So, and actually, what ended up happening is a Spanish teacher at the high school wanted my job, and I wanted her job. So we flip flopped. In fall of 2017, I moved up to the high school. And actually,
Wow.
last August, I just finished my certification. It was a 4 year program. So you have to teach for 3 years with your temporary cert. And then you take an additional 3 or 4 classes every each. It's like one or two per summer while you're teaching. So I just finished it. So no
Wow.
more school. I'm finally done with school after I don't know, however many years. Because even after I graduated from Hillsdale, the next year I was taking classes at Schoolcraft. So I'm finally
What
done.
what a journey,
So
man.
now I'm officially a high school Spanish teacher. Now I got my official certification finally.
So what are you just teaching Spanish 1 or are you teaching a couple?
So I do Spanish 1 and 2, and I actually created a brand new class last year because I'm actually certified to teach English as well. I actually got certified to do English, Spanish, and math. I took all three endorsement exams. So when you want to teach in the state of Michigan, this is probably true in most states, you got to take they're called MTTC exams, and they're basically endorsement exams. You have to it's a pass or fail. If you pass them, when you
Wow.
graduate from your certification program, because you passed those exams, you get endorsed to teach that subject. So I was endorsed to do three subjects. My math one just expired because I never taught a class in the 3 years that I had my
Ah,
temporary cert. You have to teach one of those areas to keep that endorsement. So I lost math. I don't care. I don't want to teach math. But I created a brand new class at the high school last year, right before the pandemic. So I got to keep my English endorsement. I created a film class. I created a class called Film Studies. So
awesome.
unfortunately, I got only a week into it, and then everything got shut down. I'm
Yeah.
prepped. Prepped to teach two sections of it third trimester here in April. So hopefully we're back in person. I can do my film class because
Awesome.
for the week I had it. It was a blast. It was mostly juniors and seniors. A lot of kids in my club that I do up there, and a lot of football guys. There was a bunch of football guys
Yeah.
who were in it too. That it was a lot of fun.
Well,
It was a
that's cool,
shame
man.
that we had to shut
What
things down, but.
what a journey to get there. So,
Hmm.
were you kind of thinking, was GL always a destination you wanted, or was it just like, yeah, I'll take whatever kind of deal?
Um, yeah, I don't think I did actually interview at Puamo Westphalia, the summer of 2017. I wasn't sure if I was gonna get my job back, at Hayes, or if I would have an opportunity. I actually interviewed for an English job at Grand Ledge High School, and they turned me down.
Mm,
In summer of 2017, they said I didn't have enough experience, and I interviewed for an English high school position at Puamo Westphalia that summer, and they turned me down because they said I didn't have enough experience.
that's
Um,
how it always goes, right?
so I mean, I might have. Honestly, I will never teach or coach anywhere at this point. I just the house I'm in right now, Caroline. I just bought this house in Grand Ledge back in October.
Yeah.
I'm here, man.
Yeah.
I'm a Grand Ledge lifer. I'm a townie for life, baby.
does
I love
does
it.
does being back, take you back a little bit, make you miss the days a little bit, or no?
Um, I I I miss things about high school. I don't
Yeah.
miss high school.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I miss the the lack of responsibility was always nice.
Yeah.
You don't realize till you get
No.
older how much life how quickly life hits you.
And
I
how
miss the
how how
carefree.
how hard we thought it was back then, and
Oh, it's not hard.
it,
High school's so easy. It was great.
oh,
I enjoyed the experience, but I don't miss. There's things I miss, but not being in high school in
yeah.
general.
No, I
So,
get you. I get
but
you.
it is weird because one thing always people ask me since I'm back teaching where we went to school is they go, is it weird? Because a lot of the teachers are still there. There's a bunch who have retired or
Yeah.
moved on, but there's still a lot of teachers there who were our teachers,
Yeah.
were now my colleagues. So it was weird having to call a lot of them by their first name. I'm used to it now. Some of them I still don't. Malkowitz, I still call him Mal.
Yeah.
Clifford, I still just call him Cliff.
Yep.
So I mean, but
Yeah.
I
I
like it a lot.
I walked in, and obviously I haven't been in with the students yet. I'm just getting in here, and
Yeah, because you started
yeah, I
in
started.
August, right?
Yep, late, early September is when I
Okay.
ended up getting in there, and
Congratulations, by the way.
I appreciate
I
it.
think I might have told you that back in fall. I was like, happy
Yeah,
for you, excited for you.
absolutely. I'm happy to be back, and it was a little weird. It was a little weird getting
How do you
in there.
feel replacing a legend?
I know
Terry
Terry
Westman, man,
Westman
she was there forever.
is great, and she is still helping me. I still call her and text her, and
She's awesome. Yeah,
she's
she's
willing
great.
to help me out. So I know I got big shoes to fill, but I'm excited and I'm enjoying it so far. But
Absolutely.
it is a little weird being back in there. I just thought, I'm very happy to be back, but yeah, it is a little weird. It was a little refreshing though. At least,
You get used to it. You
I'd
get used
rather
to
be
it.
going there into some random school that I
Yeah.
know nothing about. So,
Yeah.
but well, obviously we have been in some tough times and in the pandemic, and uh,
Yep.
especially at Grand Ledge where the students aren't back, and you've had to teach going back to last spring,
Yep.
all the way up until now. We're rolling on almost a year. You've had to teach, via Zoom or whatever it may be,
Yep.
online, not in school. And I can't even imagine teaching Spanish, not in class. I mean,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your experience and how that's going.
um, it's it has its positives and negatives. Like obviously most things. I think I'm fortunate to be teaching high school. In a time like this, I feel so bad and have no envy for elementary teachers, kindergarten teachers,
Yeah.
even middle school teachers. Like, a lot of respect for them because I don't know how I've witnessed some um, fellow staff members, younger students on elementary school Zooms. I'm like, how? Like, so much respect for them. Obviously, with high school kids, I mostly have 14 to 18-year-olds. I do have some with Spanish 1 and 2. I do get some juniors and seniors, a lot of freshmen, sophomores. So a little bit more independence there, a little bit more responsibility, um, a little bit more. They're now more knowledgeable in technology. They can
Yeah.
navigate, a lot of these resources that we're using. So in for me, I think I've probably got a much easier spot than some teachers. I teach lower level Spanish, so I'm fortunate in that not having to do the upper level stuff, that I don't have as much pressure on me or for my students to necessarily find some sort of a fluency. It's basic, they're learning.
Yeah.
Some of my Spanish 1 kids have never done anything with Spanish before. Most of them haven't. So with me, it's a little more laid back, a little less stressful than maybe if you had upper level classes. I
Yeah.
know with our upper level Spanish teacher, she's having a heck of a time trying to find ways because like her Spanish 4s and 5s, she pretty much does those classes in Spanish. So trying to do that, yeah, over the power of the internet on computers is not ideal. Speaking languages, especially a new language, foreign language for some of these kids, is ideal to do in person. So um, I feel like I'm in a situation where, again, it's not necessarily as stressful or as difficult. Is it ideal? No. Is it fun? Not really. Um, but again, things that are out of our control, out of my control, out of the kids' control. So you tell me what to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm one of those
Yeah.
guys, tell me
Yeah.
what to do, and I'll do it 100 miles an hour.
Are we in
That's
a much better place? I mean, I got to imagine when this thing all hit and we just all of a sudden went virtual, it was a little rough,
It was a
uh,
mess.
last year. I would
It
imagine we're
was
in
a
a
it
lot
was a
better spot.
cluster. It was
Yeah.
a cluster. It was bad. Last spring was an absolute disaster for everybody. I mean, no one knew what was going on, especially schools. I mean, we shut down March 13th, that Friday, because I remember that day was so eerie in class because I had so many kids who didn't show up. Parents held their kids home from school because no one knew what was going on. It was very eerie. My 5th hour, I think a class of 30 had like 12 kids. So I
Wow.
just threw a movie on, and I'm like, what am I gonna teach you guys? No, you guys aren't gonna be here on Monday. Then we ended up not having school for a month until they came up with a plan. Everyone, I don't know if you paid attention to stuff in the news with schools, but everyone had to have an educational plan in place by it was like mid-April,
Yeah.
and what we got rolling by mid-April, it was something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to do something. We couldn't just not do anything.
Right.
But again, you know, um, not ideal. I mean,
Yeah.
again, you got to do what you got to do, but you'd rather be in person, teach in person. It's better this year, I think. Again, obviously, for a lot of kids, it's hard not being in person. Some kids are doing better than they were in person. I've talked to some special education teachers and teachers that work with students who have IEPs and 504s and those things, and some of them are actually flourishing by not having distractions.
Yeah.
They don't have kids they can goof around with. They, throw things, talk to people, whatever.
Yeah.
There's some kids who are actually doing really, really well.
Just focus on
Um,
getting that work done and be done with
exactly.
it.
Some kids are doing a nice job. There's other kids who this is taking a toll on them. There's a lot
Yeah.
of them.
I
Um,
can't imagine, obviously everyone learns differently, but I just can't imagine being in high school and trying to figure that out, or being, in
I feel
elementary or middle school. It's just, I can't even imagine trying to focus. And I mean, it's all self-driven at that point. You gotta,
I feel bad for the kids, man. I was just having this conversation with a good buddy of mine this last weekend. Um, and he kind of made, I won't throw him under the bus, but he made his wife as a teacher. He'll probably know I'm talking about him. He made a comment that he thinks kids, especially high school kids, just they got to toughen it up. They got everyone's going through hard times. So I'm like, yeah, everyone's going through hard times, but kids at the end of the day have the least amount of control. I mean, obviously you and I are adults and we don't have any control. But kids are at the short end of all of this, man, especially teenagers and college and high school students. Because at least some of the younger kids, they got more time, right? This is very hard and it sucks and it's going to have a toll
Yeah.
on a lot of them, but they still have more years left. These high school and college kids, I mean, they're in their last 4 to 8 years of some of their best memories. I mean,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed life since college, but you'd probably agree a lot of some of your most precious memories are from high
Absolutely.
school and college with friends and sports
Absolutely.
and recreational stuff and all that good those good things. And some of these kids are never going to have any of that. Like,
Yeah.
something that really drove me nuts, man, last year was adults telling kids prom doesn't matter, don't worry, you're missing your prom. I'm like, you had your prom, you
Yeah.
can say that, you're allowed to have that
Yeah.
opinion
It
if you got to do it.
it might have sucked, but you know what? You
You
got
got to do it. You
yeah.
had the option to go and do it and say, yeah, I didn't like it. These
Yeah.
kids don't even get the option. They don't even have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So
It
I just feel really bad for him, man, because it's gone. It's time. Time is
abs-
lost. You can't get
absolutely.
time back. I appreciate, like, the NCAA, is one example trying to give time back. They've basically said every NCAA athlete did. This is not a year of eligibility. This is a
Yeah.
free year. Anyone who wants to come back, come back. However, that kind of craps on high school kids.
That's gonna kill your recruitment process.
Yeah, because I've had some conversations with some of our senior football players and a few parents who really want to play college ball. And another thing that sucks is trying to be a high school athlete going to play college in any sport this year, because there's no on-campus visits for
No.
reciprocate either way.
Yep.
Coaches aren't coming to Grand Ledge to talk to Coach Bry because they can't come and no one's here.
Yep.
He's gotten a couple phone calls, but they also don't need kids.
Yep.
Everyone who wants to stay can stay. So I don't know, man. I think there's going to be some fallout for these kids in terms of their livelihood, their mental health. I worry. I worry for a lot of them. I just think that as as mentors, myself and many other people included, you get to work at the high school. Any opportunity we have to help them, I just feel so bad for them.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's not good, and like you said, the fallout is just inevitable at this point, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
um, you just hope for the best, especially those spring athletes. Last year,
Yeah.
imagine this: you're a spring athlete last year. It was your junior year. You're just about to be on varsity, say for baseball, track, wherever it may be. Now you don't have that season.
Yep.
And now this year, who knows what's going to end up happening? Obviously, hopefully we have spring sports, but
Yep.
now you're a senior and you weren't on varsity last year. Now you got your only time to shine to try
Yep.
to, maybe you're hoping to get that scholarship. Like, it's
Yep.
tough. It's tough.
Track two,
Yeah.
men and women's track, uh,
It,
didn't have a season.
no.
Softball didn't have a season. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's going to be.
uh,
Yeah, well, you hope, things can turn around here soon. And, obviously you being a teacher, thank you so much, man. You give them back to the kids. And I know
absolutely.
a lot of parents are realizing that they don't want their kids at home all this time. And
I
that
don't blame them.
that you teachers do a great job. So
Well, thanks, man.
I do appreciate it, man. Um, well, moving on here, I do got to say, I admire you, man. In a world where people, constantly break up and relationships don't last, and people are so quick to throw in the towel. You and your now wife Caroline started dating in high school. When was that? What year?
Our freshman year.
Freshman year. So it's been what? 14. I mean, how many years
It
are we
will.
talking here?
It will be. I asked her out. I know it sounds funny, but I mean we've been together ever since. I asked her out at halftime of a Grand Ledge varsity basketball game. I couldn't even remember to tell you who they were playing because I was so nervous. And February of 2008.
February
So this
2008.
month I'll have been with her for 13 years. We'll have been married for 4 years in June.
Ah, that's awesome, man. I got to
Yep.
tell you that's really cool. It's something, especially in today's world, that you don't see. And you guys were one of those couples that everybody just knew that you guys were going to stick together. And if you didn't, who knows what the hell? Something's wrong with the world if Vince and
Well,
Caroline didn't.
well, and I won't say it was easy. I mean,
No.
college was tough, man. College was tough.
Yeah, and that seems to be the big test for the
It was.
high school sweethearts, right? They go to college and go to
Yep.
different places, and that's when I think you really start to grow as a person and change. And um,
Her
that's
mom, Caroline's mom, when I left to go to Hillsdale, because Caroline went to LCC in the Michigan State. When I left to go to Hillsdale, her mom told her it wouldn't last. She
well,
goes, "It's not gonna last." She said that.
I just think that's a lot of people's mindset. So
Yeah, I don't blame her.
and I think at the end though, you go, that makes you almost stronger. I would think.
Absolutely.
That distance and just putting everything together, man. It's really
Absolutely.
cool. You obviously got a little one, Calvin, right?
Yeah,
how
Calvin.
how old is he?
He is he's going on 11 months. He'll be 1 year old at the end of March. March 20th will be
Awesome.
his first birthday.
And another one on the way.
Yep, his sister Chloe, we're expecting her actually. So Calvin's projected birth date was March 30th of last year. Chloe's projected birth date is March 30th of this year. So if she comes 10 days early like he did, they will have the same birthday.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. They'll
That's
be
awesome.
Irish twins if she comes 10 days early.
Well, hey, you got any you said it's been 13 years. You got any advice for anybody trying to make a relationship last for forever? I mean, you're on your way there, and I think it's just admirable. I was just wondering if you had anything.
Um, the two biggest things when people ask me that, because people are always shocked when I tell them that we've been together since we were 15 years old. We're gonna be 30 next year. We both turned 29 this year. We'll be 30 next year, which is crazy. The two biggest things that I've learned after so long, especially once we got married and bought a house, I think you learn a lot more about someone when you live with them. Excuse me.
Absolutely.
So before we got married, I would say the biggest thing I learned was compromise. That kind of held true even more so when we got married, honestly. Being able to compromise, it's a give and a take. You can't get your way all the time, either person. You just can't. It's not healthy. It's not going to work out if it becomes a one-sided relationship. The other biggest thing is I am very adamant, and so is she, about us having our own space, like doing our own thing, and that got to a point where it almost was detrimental in college, and mostly it was me. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed myself in college. I never cheated on or anything like that. But I was on a football team, so
Yeah.
I'll leave it at
Yeah.
that. We had a good time.
You were out with the boys. Let's
We
just
we had a good time, and and I would get stupid sometimes, and thankfully she stuck with me, and I grew up a bit. I matured and didn't do anything too stupid, fortunately. And but I think we did a really good job of having our own time separate from each other, our own thing separate from each other. Because you see some couples, and I'm not, this is, I don't know, it's not for everyone. This is
yeah.
just what worked for us. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way. Some couples do everything
Everything.
together
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time,
24/7.
and I just don't think that's healthy, and neither does she. And it's worked out really nice for us. Sometimes she wants to go hang out with her friends and do her own thing. I want to hang out with my friends, do my own thing. Sometimes we come together with friends and
Yeah.
family, and sometimes we want to be alone separately. You know what I mean? And do our own thing. So that's something we've always maintained, especially in college and since we've been married. High school, you got the romance going on when you're in high school, or
High
any early stage
Yeah.
couples. And
You don't want to be apart then, but
no. Well, and I also have to give Caroline a lot of credit, because some guys or girls in a relationship, if the opposite, the other person wants to go away, they go
yeah.
with them, or they try to
Yeah.
convince them, or they try to convince them not to go. and she was supportive in my endeavors and what I wanted to do. So
Yeah, that takes
I
a
love
strong
her so
person.
much for that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
That takes a strong person. So,
yeah.
yeah,
It was
that
not always easy. It was, I won't say. I mean, there's plenty of bumps in the road, but we just, I don't know. We always just found a way to make it work. Just always
well,
found a way to make it work.
I tell you that it's awesome to see, and obviously, I wish you guys the best moving forward, and that everything goes healthy and safe with your new one coming. And
Thanks, man.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
buddy.
it's weird having two kids in a pandemic. We didn't ever plan for that.
Didn't plan for one, let
Yeah,
alone
cause well,
two.
yeah, cause Calvin, everything got shut down. Like I said a little bit ago on March 13th. He was born March 20th. He was born 1 week after everything got shut down. So
Wow.
he's been alive completely in this pandemic, and now his sister's going to be born, and we're still in it. So it's like, I'm hoping by then, in a month, 5, 6 weeks, whatever, things have cleared up a little bit. But who knows?
Is two the plan, or are we? You never
We
know.
I would love to have a lot of kids, but I don't have to carry kids, so I don't really have a lot of say in that department. We at one point really wanted four, both of us did. I think we've kind of landed on three. So if you couldn't tell, number two wasn't intended. Um, was not planned, but it's still a blessing nonetheless, and we're
Absolutely.
very excited. So we'll probably, fingers crossed, have a little gap here, and then we'd like to have a third. Would
Awesome.
be the plan, but
That's awesome, man. Well,
we'll
hey,
see.
I thank you so much for your time. I want to spend a little bit more with you here, um,
Absolutely.
and talk about a little passion that we both have, and that is films, movies. I'm a big lover, and I've got a ton. I see you've got giant collection behind you. I love it. I love it. We
I thought
talked
that would be an appropriate background.
absolutely, and we talked a little earlier. You got your film club you're doing there at the high school.
Yep.
How'd that come about? Is it because you needed that class, or is it something you just wanted to do?
So the club is a club, and then I have the film studies
So they're
class.
separate,
So
separate.
they're two
Okay.
separate things, and the club was first. So I was at Hayes doing eighth grade Spanish in 2016, 2017. When I went up to the high school in 2017, some of the kids who were I had as eighth graders and then came up, with me, as freshmen. They moved up to freshmen. I got a job at the high school. That I got some of the kids I got to know really well. Found some of my YouTube stuff. So I still have my YouTube channel, and I actually made videos into that fall that I was teaching at Hayes, and I texted you a couple days ago. I actually did 2 episodes of a podcast, both with John Horford, in 2018, and so I was more active on it in college, but I've been somewhat active recently. But anyway, the kids found it. They found my social, eighth grade kids, man, phones. They found all my social media stuff. They found my YouTube account, and so some of the kids got excited about it. A few of them are really into movies too, and they're like, "Hey, you should start a club." Like, a lot of kids would really like that. I'm like, "Really?" I was like, "I would love to. I think that'd be a lot of fun." So I pretty much from scratch, when the football season, because I've ever since I've been teaching, I've been coaching every fall as well. Um, as soon as the football season ended, I kind of had plans and thinking about and talking to some of these kids during football season, and then when November rolled around after football was done in 2017, I introduced myself to our auditorium coordinator, Tim Daniel. Him and I actually just talked to him on the phone today because I have a film club tomorrow. Tim's a great guy. He helped me set up some of my movies in the auditorium. And he has a projector and a huge screen and surround sound, these big old speakers.
Awesome.
Some of the movies we do in my classroom, I can't book a ton in the auditorium because of a lot of different things going on there. But when I can, I usually get a few a month in there. And so I basically that fall I created a schedule, came up with some themes for every month for the rest of the year, and tied together movies each month by a theme. Um, Create a Remind. I don't know if you know what Remind is. It's a resource a lot of teachers use to send out
Yep.
texts without seeing a phone number.
Yep.
Create a Remind had one of the ladies in the front office put out announcements. I printed flyers, put them around the school, and I did a first meeting like in November before Thanksgiving, and I had like 40 kids,
Wow.
30 kids show up to the meeting.
That's
And
awesome.
that first year, I think I pretty consistently had the very first film I showed was Wizard of Oz, and I had in the auditorium. It was sweet. I got to show the Wizard of Oz on the big screen. I had like 30 kids come to that movie. It dipped a bit after that, and I pretty consistently had, you know, 10 to 15 kids. And I will sometimes get dips up or down depending on the movie, depending on what, you know, what's going on. You know, I get as many as 30 and as few as I've had like 5 or 6 kids show up to a movie before. But
So they just show up and you guys watch a movie, or
so I come up again with a schedule at the beginning of the year. This year, last year, obviously we got cut short. Didn't get to finish it off. This year I've been doing it all digitally. I did 3 films online over Zoom using Netflix Party, which is a Google Chrome extension to watch movies.
oh, that's cool.
Like you get a host who starts the movie. You all
Yeah,
log into your Netflix account. He creates an invite. You all join. He hits play, and then it starts simultaneously. And there's a chat, and you can have a chat while you're doing it. So
that's
we did
cool.
3 of those, and then we jumped back to Zoom before and after to talk about it. And then when our facilities opened back up, end of January in small groups, so I was allowed to do. I've done 2 or 3 films, 3 films at the high school now. I have my next one supposed to be tomorrow. So this year's been a little wonky and weird trying to schedule things. Usually I do a couple in December. Every year I've done this. I've done a few in December. I couldn't do that this year, so
Yeah.
I did them online. We watched a couple online, but
Oh, that's still cool, and you know, you get to spread the love on some films and
absolutely.
show some kids and bring some people together. I think that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yep. Yeah, I've
Um,
enjoyed it.
for you, you know, what's your favorite part about movies in general? I mean, for me, it's just the fact that uh, anything is possible,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Anything can be created, and for 90 minutes or 2 hours, whatever it is, I can just sit there and watch and focus and not worry about anything else. But for you, what's your favorite part about films in general?
Absolutely agree with you on the escapism part. I think escapism, especially this last year, man, has is definitely a big thing. But for me, it's a couple. In addition to escapism, you know, going into another world and being able to just immerse yourself in it and forget about everything else, getting lost in it. The other 2 things that kind of pop into my head is one, it's kind of a communal thing. I enjoy the conversation, you know, the community part of it. I told you I'm really heavily involved in, you know, watching YouTubers who review films, but I have a Twitter account separate that's only for movie stuff. So I have a personal one, and then I have a film Twitter account, and there's a whole Twitter sphere called Film Twitter, where it's basically critics and, you know, people on Letterboxd, and they just talk about that's all I follow on there is film stuff. So I love that community and that conversation part of it, and it kind of ties in to familial part of it, a family part of it, you know, because I grew up. My mom and my dad both really love movies, and so does my brother. That's a lot of great memories growing up watching movies. I still go to movies with my mom. Her and I will just go. We love
Awesome.
going. I love taking her to weird movies. I took her to a horror movie, and she's starting to kind of turn towards horror. She watched the Netflix the 2 Haunting of. I got her in The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. I took her to see The Lighthouse a couple years ago with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, which is a horror movie. She looked at me at one point. She's like, "What the hell did you bring me to?" But she ended up liking it. And but yeah, I love. My dad was just here the other day and we watched a movie. So I love watching movies with my family and my friends.
Yeah.
The last thing that I love about movies, there's a lot of things, but the biggest, those are two big things. And the last thing for me is I love that it can tell a story and make you feel something or teach you something about someone or some place or some perspective that otherwise you probably never would have had. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Um, and that's why I always encourage people to watch more foreign language films. I was so happy last year when the Oscars, for the first time ever, Caroline could tell you, I literally jumped up and screamed in excitement. I was so happy when Parasite won back. I'm a foreign language teacher, man. I love
Right.
foreign languages. I was so ecstatic when Parasite won Best Picture last year. And Bong Joon Ho, the director, gave a great quote. He said Americans can enjoy more foreign language films if they could get over the 1 inch words at the bottom of the screen. I was like, yes. Well, I watch everything with subtitles.
Dude,
Caroline's addicted to it too. English, Spanish, German, whatever, any language. We watch. So we're watching like The Queen's Gambit right now together on Netflix. We have subtitles on. I watch TV, all my TV shows. English, WandaVision when I was watching the other day, subtitles on. I watch everything with subtitles because you'd be surprised, especially with shows where they talk fast, they mumble, or they have an accent, even in English, what you don't pick up, or things in the background you don't pick up. And so I encourage people to try watching something in English with just the English subtitles on.
yeah, that's
But
interesting.
I just love that part of film that someone from North or South Korea, right? Bong Joon Ho is from South Korea, like a South Korean film about the class system. I've never been to South Korea. I would love to go someday. I don't know if I ever will go, but I can watch a movie about classism in South Korea because of movies. I can
Yeah,
watch that story. You know what I mean? So I love that you can gain different perspectives into other people's lives, um, and all around the world just by the power of movies, man. That's one of my
absolutely.
favorite parts. Love it.
Absolutely, man. I know I usually spend my summers at the movie theater, so not
Oh yeah, this last year, man, that sucked not being able
so
to go.
tough, so tough. Is there any genres that I mean, it sounds like you dabble in everything. Is there some, like, for me, I know you talked about horror. I just don't do it. I don't do it.
Oh man, really?
It's not
I
that
love horror.
not that I'm like afraid
It's
of
my
it.
favorite.
I was as a kid. I was afraid as a kid, but now it's just I don't find it interesting to me. It's more comical to me than
Depends on
anything.
what but what are you watching though?
I don't
I
watch
be
many, so I won't.
Oh, okay. I was
I,
to say because
I just remember going and seeing like the paranormals when I was in college and stuff.
oh yeah, I mean the first one, that series, the first one's decent. It's a if in context for what it is, this like micro budget,
Yeah,
I mean, it's like the highest grossing film of all time based off its budget to like it was like $100,000 movie and it made like tens of millions of dollars. Pretty cool. They literally had a house and a camera and a few
that's
unknown actors. So like that's pretty
crazy.
cool. And there's some cool jump scares in that one, but
So,
that series is bad. If you want some good horror movies, text me, man. I'll recommend you some good
all
horror.
right, all right.
I'll get you
Maybe
some good stuff.
maybe I will. But so you're open to everything though. Is there anything you don't?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I would ever turn myself away from a film based on its genre. I don't necessarily go out of my way to watch a lot of musicals, a lot of rom coms, or even a lot of comedies. Um,
Really?
yeah, um, comedies. I'm a bit of a snob with movies. If I'm gonna spend 90 minutes to 2.5 or even 3 hours, depending on what the movie is, watching a movie, I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to be upset or frustrated about something, on the screen. So comedies just tend to be some of the worst movies I see, because humor is so subjective.
That's true.
Either you find it funny or you don't. So because of that, the only time, excuse me, I go out of my way to watch a comedy is if I think they're going to do something special with the filmmaking qualities. In terms of a lot of camera work in comedies is not interesting. It's shot reverse shot. Like You and Me. It's just there's nothing
Yep.
interesting with the camera. Not usually anything interesting about the music. Nothing interesting about the direction or the editing. It's usually just the humor, right? Is it funny or is it not? So, and because humor is so subjective, I know what I like in terms of comedy, um, mostly by actors. So I usually just don't check out comedies unless I know it's someone I'm going to like, or maybe a director who I think is going to do something interesting. A comedy director who always is very interesting visually is Edgar Wright. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, um, The World's End, Baby Driver. He did Baby
Oh,
Driver.
love
He
Baby
does he
Driver.
does interesting things, and they're
Well,
usually not just comedies. He morphs other elements in, like Shaun
yeah.
of the Dead is a horror comedy. Hot Fuzz is kind of a thriller cop comedy. Baby Driver is like a heist comedy. So
Yeah.
like he does
Those are the
interesting
those are
things.
the best to me when they can take a certain genre and then mix in everything else and mix in that
Exactly.
humor. I mean, that's what it really makes, I think, a great movie. But
There's very few probably just pure comedy films that I love.
Hmm.
One of the few that is actually one of my favorite films of all time. It's purely because of the performances. There's nothing really that great about the movie outside of the performances. It's all the comedic timing of Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, Dumb and Dumber. The original Dumb and Dumber. There's nothing really that interesting about the filmmaking qualities of that movie. It's purely Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey letting loose and being as stupid as possible, and their slapstick
Uh,
performances and the timing of some of their line deliveries is great. So like that's an example of one that
yeah.
I love that movie because it's just so stupid. It's great.
Well, hey, before we let you go here, I thought we'd do something a little fun and do a little top three thing
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
and start with maybe if you can think uh, your top three films, top three movies.
That's so weird that we're having this conversation, or you're asking me that because we had a staff meeting at the end of the school day today, and Ken Wright, our principal, he usually has an opening question while we're sitting there waiting on Zoom to start that people type in the chat. It was your favorite movie of all time was the question, and I had to put three because I'm like I can't just put one. So
Yeah.
it's just ironic that I had that asked earlier today. My favorite movie of all time, hands down, it's pretty top one and two are pretty close. The Revenant is my favorite film of all time. Love that movie. And then It's a Wonderful Life. Those are like my top two. So you
Oh,
got a new and you got an old, for very different reasons. I love those films. I could watch them over and over and over for very different reasons. The next closest for three would be The Shining. Love The Shining.
nine. Nick Catlin is going to be very happy that you said "It's a Wonderful Life."
I love It's a Wonderful Life, man. I
Oh,
watch that movie every single year without fail on Christmas.
that's awesome.
If I can't watch it on Christmas Day, I make sure I watch it someday, either before or after, because I gotta watch. It's an annual tradition for me. Love that movie so much.
All right, interesting. What about your top three actors or actresses? What?
Actors and actresses. That's always such a tough one. And I actually, when I read your notes for this, I was gonna think more about it, and then I forgot to, because I was like, he's gonna ask me this question, and then I'm gonna be stuck trying to think of it. So I'll just try to go with things off the top of my head as best as I
Yeah.
can. Um, I love Leonardo DiCaprio. He's always gonna pop into my head when I think of best actors. Don't take this with a grain of salt because I'd have to like really sit down and think about.
Yeah.
I've honestly never top movies I've thought about before. Top actors is so tough for me. Leonardo DiCaprio, definitely a big one that's up there. Um, Trying to think who else I really really enjoy. There's some that to me it's so hard because some do a lot of great movies, then some bad ones that I really
They,
like.
they knock it down, right? They do
There's
so
very
good.
few that have like in terms of actors. I would argue there's some directors who have like a perfect filmography, like haven't made a bad movie. But there's a lot of actors because they gotta take a paycheck who will make bad movies.
Especially when they're starting out. They'll
Yeah. Um Geez, I feel like I have someone else in my head that I want to say, and I'm like trying to think of some of my favorite movies. Because even some of my favorite movies, I wouldn't say have some of my favorite actors
right. Yeah, that's fair.
necessarily.
That's fair.
I'm a big Denzel fan. I
Can't
love Denzel.
can't go wrong with
I think
Denzel.
Denzel's great. Oh, I got one for you. Javier Bardem. I love Javier Bardem. He's a Spanish actor
Yeah.
who's done a lot of American films too. He was in one of the James Bond films. I like his performances in some of the Spanish films he's been in. I'm trying to also think of actresses too. Don't want to leave out great actresses. I really like Jennifer Lawrence. I really liked for a while. I still do really like her. She has done some like she did some bad performances in the X-Men movies. She's not great in those, but she's had some other really great
Yeah, I
performances. I
didn't
like
think
Jennifer Lawrence a lot. Margot Robbie is a really good
Oh
actor.
yeah, she's awesome.
Her performance in I Tanya is great. If you've never seen I Tanya, she's really great in that. And I really like. She's a kind of a newcomer, and I can see her face. Oh man, I'm gonna pull the movie out because I'm gonna forget her name, and it's gonna bug me. Florence Pugh. She was in Midsommar. and she was in Little Women, which I just picked up. Little Women. She's awesome. She's kind of an up and coming actress. She's great. I really really like Florence Pugh.
Awesome.
Is really, I think that's how you say her last name. It's spelled Pugh.
Sounds right.
I don't know,
Awesome.
man. I could keep going and like
Oh,
naming
oh.
random.
No,
I feel
you're
like I should
good.
just look back and try and look at some random movies to try
Well,
and think of some actors.
what about directors? I know you're big into, the deep dive of the movie and the
Absolutely.
purpose of it and everything like that. What about, you got a couple directors that you
Oh
love?
yeah. Oh yeah. So my all-time favorite director, hands down, and I'm just finishing up a half sleeve tattoo. I got one more session in 2 weeks. Is Stanley Kubrick, and I got a half sleeve tattoo that I'm working on here with a bunch of iconography from his films. That's
Awesome.
right. There's a box set of a bunch of his movies,
Okay.
right
That
there.
that was good.
Stanley Kubrick, and in terms of like he's he passed away in 1999. In terms of current directors, the director of The Revenant, who also did Birdman and a couple other Spanish Mexican films. He's a Mexican filmmaker. Is Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu is the director of The Revenant.
That was
He has
impressive.
not made a film since The Revenant. He was so exhausted from that movie. He hasn't made a film in 6 years. I'm hoping he does something soon. But so those two for sure. I'm a big Tarantino guy. You got hate. That's a poster of the Hateful Eight right there. Big Tarantino guy. I like Tarantino. Some up and coming directors I really like. Ari Aster. He actually directed Midsommar and Hereditary. Robert Eggers is an up and coming director. He did The Lighthouse and The Witch.
Hmm.
I am loving Jordan Peele, man. Jordan Peele's
He's doing
two
his thing.
Get Out and Us. Us was like my favorite movie from 2019. I loved Us. A lot of people didn't like it as much as Get Out. I thought it was better.
He's doing
He's
his
great.
he's doing his thing, man. I didn't know that he had that in him just from what you see.
The only reason I knew he did was because I watched one of the Key and Peele sketches. That's a horror themed. It was like a Halloween horror themed sketch. And it's funny, but it's like genuinely creepy too. It's this one where Jordan Peele plays a child dying of like cancer, and Keegan plays this doctor named Dr. Gupta, and he's doing the Make a Wish Foundation, and he keeps wishing for all these horrifying horror, and they play it for comedy, but it's like super disturbing. So I had seen that before he did these movies, so I'm like, he's got a horror bone in them. And I've seen some filmmakers talk about this phenomenon where comedy directors or actors will all of a sudden jump the opposite direction in horror, and there's a good argument for it. They're both extremes, right? Because comedy is extreme joy, making you
Yeah,
laugh. Horror is extreme the other way, right? So I think that visceral extreme, they know how to do both sides because it's
that's
just the opposite of one.
right.
Even Robin Williams, one of the arguably one of the funniest, comedians ever, dabbled in. If you've ever seen 1 Hour Photo,
I have not.
which was like a 2001 or 2002 film with him, where he plays this uh, photo developer who stalks this family. He like is convinced they're his family and stalks their family because they bring their photos for years. And he ends up like he's like this creepy dude. I won't ruin the movie for you, but so even like that's what I'm saying is even Robin Williams,
Yeah.
did kind of a horror thriller performance. A lot of them do at some point. I don't know.
Oh. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, I won't keep you any longer. I appreciate the heck out of your time, and
Absolutely.
very, very interesting man. You're a smart guy, and I could pick your brain all day. So hopefully we can get you back on sometime. And
Would love to. I love
awesome,
chatting.
man. Well,
Love
hey,
chatting about all these things.
heck yeah. So thank you so much, and follow us on Napchatter on all the socials. And
Absolutely.
this has been episode 5, Touchdowns to Teaching. Thank you so much, guys.